Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This podcast is dedicated to helping you have the successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business you've always desired. Now, the show is dedicated to helping accounting professionals to confidently and competently offer quality accounting services so that you can get paid what you're worth. Each episode is conversational with tips and tricks to help you apply the principles of accounting in your business and help you actually grow your accounting company. Now, in this, we cover topics such as marketing and sales, pricing, the services that you should be offering, how you can be offering advisory services with confidence, workflow practice management, staff training, and so much more. So I invite you to actually listen in and join each of these podcasts by subscribing to and listening to each of the former episodes. But today we have an excellent guest, someone that we're excited to have. And I'm excited to introduce you to Twyla Verhelst. She happens to live and breathe accounting. As a CPA, tech entrepreneur, and now leader of the Accounting Professionals program at FreshBooks, she's working to empower accounting professionals with the tools that they need to thrive, as well as help them discover their most valuable tool, their authentic self. With FreshBooks, it's something that you need to know. FreshBooks happens to be the number one accounting software in the cloud, designed exclusively for freelancers and growing service-based business owners. The Accounting Professionals program, APP, is designed to connect innovative firm owners with both the FreshBooks platform and business customers. Our underpinning is that it's actually what we call a collaborative accounting approach. Now, with that in mind, Twyla, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Roger. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be quite a bit of fun. I've enjoyed our conversation so far. So what I'd like to do to introduce you is first just ask, what got you into the accounting profession? You're a CPA. So tell us about just how you chose to do this as a profession.
I actually became an accountant not to be an accountant. And it's kind of a funny story because I was trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to university and get educated after high school, but I really didn't know where I wanted my career to go. But what I did know is that I grew up in an entrepreneurial home. I was an entrepreneur at heart. My parents were small business owners. I really loved the element of small business and getting in there and getting my hands dirty. So I decided to become an accountant for two reasons. One, for job security. I thought at that time, which I won't even say how many years ago that was, but I thought at that time that accountants would never be replaced. We would always need accountants. Now, little did I know how much the industry would evolve, and not saying that accountants are extinct at this point, but it certainly has changed a lot, and there is kind of talk about accounting jobs changing and even disappearing in some aspects. But I treated it as job security. So I thought the world would always need accountants, so I should always have a job. And then secondly, I knew that when I kind of ventured down that path of my own entrepreneurial journey and perhaps even owned my own business, that I would never be amiss for me to understand accounting and the finances of the business. And that's what led me into deciding, all right, I enjoy accounting. I'm good at accounting. I'm going to take accounting and kind of put that feather in my cap and see where that takes me.
You know, your logical approach to this makes a lot of sense because I speak with people all the time and I'm curious as to why they chose accounting. And what you just shared is very, very familiar. People will just explain that it is a very stable profession. It's something that's not going away. I jokingly refer to it as the second oldest profession, and it's been the same since Fra Luca Pacioli more than 500 years ago with debits and credits. So to get into the profession, it's pretty stable, it's pretty secure. What's changed is the technologies and so forth. So debits and credits are always going to be what they are, but what we're looking at is the means to do the accounting work that's evolving. So that brings me to a question of what in your mind is a progressive accountant? There's one thing to be a CPA, there's one thing to be an accountant. What's a progressive accountant in your mind?
To me, a progressive accountant is one that still understands those debits and credits, as you said, but has really embraced the technology and the evolutions in the industry and embraced that in a way that it's changed up their client service offering. And even if you're an accountant that specializes in tax, you've evolved and changed your service offering even around tax because there is so much technology that's taking away some of the more traditional approaches to accounting. And when I say taking away, I just mean it's replacing it or doing it more efficiently and effectively. And so as a result, time can just be better spent doing things that can't be replaced by machines and is not as simple as data entry or using the latest and greatest technology. It's really the element of embracing that technology and utilizing it in a way that we can do work and offer service to clients that are even the smallest of businesses that was outside of their reach before this technology got to where it is. So that's what I would describe as that progressive accountant, one that's modern and really on that front cusp or on that front edge of what's changed and where is the industry headed and what does this do for my firm and my team, but even more importantly, what does it do for the client and how I can support them in their business.
I liked how you described that because a progressive accountant is one that is not afraid of technology. They happen to be someone who sees that technology as freeing them up to do what matters most and really gives them the time to work for their customers, their clients, and I think, take the information that's being gathered in any accounting format and leverage it to the business owner's ability to make more informed business decisions. So I like how you were describing that progressive account. So we've seen an evolution over the last, let's say, 2 decades where we've definitely moved beyond journals and ledgers. We're into a position now where it's cloud-based, software-based. All of a sudden, we're seeing an evolution. How does that change the relationship that the accountant is having with the client? How do you see that evolving?
I really believe that it's becoming more of a case of not being traditional accountants and really, not thinking of an accountant as your Uncle Joe that was the accountant 2 decades ago and really embracing that technology, as you said, not being fearful of it and using that to create a different client relationship. And one thing, you mentioned it in my intro, and one thing that even I myself have had to do in this journey is get uncomfortable in terms of not just the technology, but my own personal skill set. Because a lot of times when we took career quizzes as to what should I be when I grow up, when you're younger, if you kind of are more of that introverted personality, accountant was one of the types of jobs that was going to be a good fit for you. But now if you're using technology and creating that as the foundation of your firm, but then layering on the value on top of that, which are things like advisory or workflow management or consulting work, that work takes a level of relationship skills and skills that kind of take you out. I used to say out from behind the desk of the computer. Now with COVID, we're all doing our calls and our meetings over Zoom and video and even phone call. So I can't really use that analogy anymore. But what I mean is that it takes you out from, I'm just going to spend my day today and tomorrow and the next day heads down behind my computer screen. It's a different career now. And it's really one that it's much more relationship focused than it's ever been. And a lot of accountants are really embracing that relationship. And it's not now an annual engagement. It's more frequent engagement opportunities throughout the course of the year to really help guide and advise your client and really help them navigate throughout the year instead of just once a year. Here's your financial information. I filed your tax return. Pay the IRS or the CRA this much money, and I'll see you next year. It's different. It's very relationship. It's forward thinking. That's the other thing that an progressive accountant is forward thinking instead of always kind of basing their information and their conversation with their clients on historical and really just getting in there and almost like you're putting on the hat of that entrepreneur. What does this business owner need in order for their business to be successful? Not just their tax returns filed. It's so much more than that now.
I completely agree. Long are the days of where the accounting information was historical. Today, it's more and more real time that's needed. But I agree with you. It's less time being spent actually recording all the information. It's now the relationship of now using that information so that the business owner can make those more informed business decisions. And it's how can we give them that information to empower them more and more timely. So what you're describing there is an accountant that's more engaged with their client, more involved with them at a decision level. And more importantly, I think this really attributes to client retention. What we're finding is rather than just doing the work and being done with it, we're engaging more with the client and becoming a little bit more involved in helping them now manage their business. And this past year, I think would be an excellent example of that. So many unforeseeable things happening within the economy necessitated accounting professionals to be more engaged with their clients to help them navigate some of the big decisions that needed to be made just to stay alive as a viable business. So those are, I think, very telltale things for us to consider. So why, knowing all of this, why realizing that this is true, do accountants struggle making this transition?
I wish I could crack that nut precisely, because I think there would be some real gold in that. And I think the reason you can't crack it precisely is because we're talking about human beings, and no two humans are exactly alike. And so there's different reasons that people are hesitant to step into this world. One is that it's outside of what they know. It's outside of what they learned. It's outside of what their clients have been experiencing from them. So if you have more of a traditional practice where the clients are engaging with you once a year, sometimes it's just the client's discomfort coupled with the accountant's discomfort. Sometimes it is that shift of technology, which, gosh, today it can be pretty overwhelming when you've got over 1,000 apps in the ecosystem and a number of different GLs platforms that would do similar type performance for small business clients. There's just a lot of moving parts, not to mention changes in workflow. It's an entirely different workflow to have that real-time data to be able to do real-time advisory on an engagement frequency of, say, quarterly. There's so many changes inside of that a lot of times it's a point of discomfort for both sides, and also this feeling of, where the heck do I start? And even also a feeling of, well, it's not broken, so why fix it? And so when you're a traditional accountant and you've got a traditional practice, it can be that it's working very well. And I never suggest to everybody, be a progressive accountant. That's where the world is going, and you're going to lose your job if you don't do that. That's not actually true. There's going to be a time and place for various types of accountants for a very, very long time, because a lot of what we find is that small business owners have yet to realize what sort of services an accountant can provide, or an accounting professional can provide. Not even just an accountant, but even a bookkeeper has evolved and changed in their service offering. So small business owners aren't yet caught up to the evolution of the industry, not just with tech, but the service offering. So we've got a long ways to go before a traditional accounting practice will become extinct. But if you want to kind of be that leading edge and offer something different and strengthen relationships, as you mentioned, I know from my own experience that there's no better way to strengthen a relationship than to be really engaged with the client all throughout the year, providing them with that listening ear, that advisory, that partnership kind of feeling, somebody else to bounce ideas off of and really to collaborate with. That's where you're going to have your strongest relationships. And prior to joining FreshBooks, I did have my own accounting, advisory, bookkeeping, payroll, tax practice. And I experienced that. You cannot get rid of those clients when you get into that level of engagement. And I think one of the silver linings of COVID has been that a lot of accounting professionals were almost like rammed into some of this advisory work, even though they weren't ready. And also the business owner was just seeking advice from somebody and knew that their accounting professional was a smart, intelligent person and a professional, that they reached out to them to help during this time. And so it was almost like this forced demonstration of what an advisory type relationship can look like. And I think the silver lining to that is it kind of just gave everyone that push of like, okay, I got to do more than engaged once a year because my clients really need me in order to get through this outrageous economic time. And then the business owner is like, I just need to turn to somebody and I don't know what to do. It's extremely stressful. And if I don't get some help, my business might not survive. And so it was this real push over the edge of kind of changing that relationship. And a lot of what I'm working on now with partners inside of the program and professionals that I talk to every day is, all right, how do you take what you did for the past 9 months, turn that into an ongoing engagement that is value added for the client, affordable for the client, sustainable for you inside of your firm, and essentially now is an advisory relationship where maybe there's still compliance work, but there's a lot of value added services inside of that new engagement.
Very good. Yeah. I think you hit a number of things that are worth repeating and mentioning. So let me kind of summarize what I heard you say. The first is that with the whole COVID, as you said, the business owners really had an interesting challenge. Many of them were just trying to stay alive as a company. They were, in some instances, shut down. There were other instances of dealing with sick employees. It's just, how do you deal with all these diverse changes that weren't even expected when the year began? And for that reason, I've been working with a number of accounting professionals, and we've really adopted this idea of becoming business first responders. It's literally triaging and helping these businesses stay alive and identifying where is that hemorrhaging going on with cash flow? What is it that needs to be done in order to address the financial needs of the company? And it's been an amazing evolution that a lot of accounting professionals have embraced and have been forced to become for their clients. Now, as to the question I asked earlier, and I think you answered it well, as to why accountants struggle to make this transition into being progressive accountants, as we were just discussing, you kind of said it right. If anybody can figure out why, there's perhaps a lot of money to be made there, because helping accountants transition it's a monumental task. But I think there are some telltale signs of it, and you kind of tapped onto it right at the very end, which is sometimes they don't feel that they're being paid for that. So it's a lot of extra energy and effort to actually work with your client and provide them these insights and these trends. And if you're not being paid well, it's kind of self-defeating to say, why am I going to put this extra energy and effort into this client when they're not paying me for these additional services? So pricing really becomes an issue, and an explanation of your services that much more important. But the second thing I would add to this is sometimes it's the lack of feeling you have the permission to have certain conversations with your clients. The relationship that you spoke of earlier may have been one where you're only seeing the business owner, let's say, once a year. So what permission do I have to really engage into that business owner and ask these probing questions and kind of challenge them on their decisions that they've been making financially? And really getting the confidence to have that ability to go in and intelligently have that discussion with your clients is very empowering, but you have to have that. And that comes from confidence and competence in the services that you're providing. But the last thing I would add, just because I think you said it well, is there also becomes this challenge of, how do I work with my clients, asking the right questions that they need to be addressing and deciding, but not do it in a way as if I'm running the company. I don't want to come across as the accounting professional as if I'm telling them what they have to do. This is their company. They have to make these decisions. So there's this fine line of how I actually have these conversations with the client so as to not be telling them how to run their business, but yet asking them the questions to help them second guess themselves and really contemplate what are the choices that they're making. And that's that progressive accountant as I would see it, just simply because of the fact that as accounting professionals, we're moving again more and more into that advisory role because the information's there. Now, how do we use that to make more informed business decisions within the clients with the clients that we work with? So I want to ask you about this journey then. What your journey through this transition can be like.
Yeah. So first thing I want to just share to layer onto what you said, because it has been part of my journey, is some of those confidence issues. I am an introvert by trade, and I or by trait, I should say. And I'm the accountant by trade and the introvert by trait. And, confidence is a tricky one. And if even though you've got all this knowledge, you may still lack confidence when it comes to speaking with your clients, especially talking to your clients about things that are really sensitive. Money is a sensitive topic for everybody. And the last thing the business owner wants to feel like, as you touched on, is that they're not running their business properly. And so to start with, I always have said, advisory isn't about having all the answers. It's actually about asking all the questions. And when you're starting down that journey of advisory and really engaging with the client in that way and gaining that confidence, you don't have to have the answers. You just have to ask the right questions. And the last thing that your client actually wants is for you to feel intimidating to them. And they know that you're educated and that you're highly intelligent and that you can use financial terminology that they do not understand. They know all of that. What they don't necessarily see in you is that you're human and that you are really on this journey along with them and that you're really out to help them be successful. And that's changed with your prior relationship, perhaps if you started as being their tax accountant. So prior to now, your service to them was making sure the IRS was off their back and that they were in compliance with the government, versus the relationship needs to evolve in order for the engagement to evolve, which means the conversations need to evolve, like you said, which means asking more questions. And I myself really kind of struggled with that because I wanted to still come across as professional and being a female, and now I'm not as young as I used to be, but for a while my excuse was that I'm female, I am young, I'm a small stature. Back in the day when we used to get together with people in person, I felt intimidated, even though what was happening is that they felt intimidated. And so it was kind of this awkward, we didn't both realize that we were both a bit uncomfortable. And as soon as you release some of that discomfort and get really vulnerable and just be really human, I'm a big fan of talking about human relationships, no matter where I've been in my journey in my career, including right now at FreshBooks. I'm a big believer in the human element of the relationship. And a lot of times that's that you can be relatable, they can trust you, they know that you're dependable and that you are on their team. You are their biggest cheerleader. You want them to be successful almost as much as they want to be successful. And that has, once I've realized that in my journey, I've been able to carry that with me throughout my meandering career inside of accounting and various elements of the accounting industry. And ultimately, people want human connections. They want somebody that they can be in a relationship with. And I always kind of go back to that human side and how can I be of service? How can I really help them? Because if you think about the accounting profession, yep, we're introverts, but we also got into this with this underlying why of liking to help people or enjoying the element of helping people. That helper personality exists in most accounting professionals. So you can really lean into that and look at, well, what do they need from me? And that helps you get through breaking the ice and starting these conversations and starting to ask more questions. It also helps at times when you have to have awkward conversations or talk about something really sensitive.
You know, I love how you made this a relationship-based type thing, because as accountants, I think we're oftentimes drawn to the absoluteness of the numbers. You know, 2 + 2 is 4. We like the finality of all that. But at the end of the day, this is a relationship-based business. And what we have are opportunities to really have great relationships with our clients. And I think you were describing it well. And the way I would refer to it is creating a safe environment, a safe zone for our clients to feel vulnerable. Because if we ask the questions like you're suggesting in a very accusatory way, we run the risk of embarrassing them, in maybe making them feel inadequate, because they're going to be making mistakes. And as they become more transparent with us and open up, those mistakes are going to become much more obvious. And time and time again, working with business owners, I've had instances, it's kind of like pulling back the layers of the onion. You get to the core of it all and you find out there are some decisions they're making in their business that honestly, they're just a gut check. They don't know what they're doing either. And as they're running their business, they're just making the best decisions that they can. And as they start to speak with us, they'll find that maybe there are better choices or options that they didn't even realize were available. And now all of a sudden, with our help, they're running a more efficient, more profitable company. And it starts with the compliance. You're right. It's some business owners just don't understand the essence of being in business, from sales tax to payroll tax to just paying taxes. They collect the money with the point of sale, but they just don't know how to actually budget and allocate those things to pay certain fees. Just coming in and making them compliant really is a relief to them. Now it's not only am I compliant, but how can I be profitable at this? How can I actually run a successful business? And there's a lot of decisions that they have to make. And if you give them the right information and really provide a safe environment for them to ask and learn, they'll be more comfortable working with us. And as accounting professionals, we'll be able to see them really booster their own confidence and go out there and make thriving businesses that we can be a part of. So I liked your explanation of that journey, because I've experienced it time and time again with the clients, and it's a very real emotional experience for them. So that really brings the question to my mind of what's the future of accounting looking like? If this is where we are today, what's on the horizon?
Well, truly, I think as much as we maybe don't want to hear it, I think that technology is going to continue to evolve. Gosh, even now I'm seeing accountants who are starting to code and create technology to solve pain points. And so when we talk about how overwhelming technology is today and the options that we have today are numerous, I think that's going to continue to evolve and to grow. But I also think that the future is in the relationship side. I think accounting is going to become less science, more art. And it's going to be, how do I best form relationships with my clients that they can't live without? And when we had our accounting firm, that became our value proposition. Create a client experience that they can't live without. And that then is where that deeper relationship comes in, because it's hard for them to fire their friend. And so if you become almost a friend to them and a confidant and somebody that they really need inside of their business, you've just created your new job security. So your old job security as an accounting professional that I thought that I would have forever probably doesn't really exist anymore the way I saw it 20 some years ago. But now that's the way to create your job security, is to really set yourself up in these relationships that are so deep and so valuable to them that they feel like they can't run their business without you. And probably they can't, to be honest. I mean, you talked about business owners making decisions with their gut. That's extremely true. I know from working with my own small business clients, that's very true. And a lot of times their gut is right, and that what they really need is somebody else to bounce the idea off of and make sure that they're not crazy or that they're actually making the right decision for their business, and that you can really help them with making those decisions and making them in an informed way instead of a gut way. So you've got that financial data at your fingertips. If they feel comfortable talking to you, they can then tell you about their gut decision or their gut instinct on something. And you could say, let me check some numbers on that and see how that's going to work out, or see if the KPIs on that make sense, or the gross profit makes sense, or whatever that metric is that you're using inside of their business to help them make decisions. You can now give them some financial backing to, that is a good pivot, or that is a good choice, versus maybe it's actually, I can see how that seems like a good choice operationally, but from a financial side, here's where that's not quite adding up. And here's what we might want to look at instead. And as you get to know your business or your clients in that way, where you know their business, you can really support them with those types of conversations and that type of dialogue. Now, that doesn't come overnight. So that's not where I'm suggesting you start. I still suggest you start with asking more questions and getting more insights, and really starting with one of the best questions, I think, is, what keeps you up at night? What is it that is most stressful about your business? And that's the place to start, because that's the place where there's gold in terms of it's valuable to them, and it's a stress point for them. And maybe that's cash flow. Maybe that's, do I have enough employees in order to service my customers? Whatever that is, that's where you start with those advisory conversations, because that's what is important to them, and it evolves from there. So I just think that the future is really a lot more of the same. I think that technology is going to continue to grow and advance. I think that the workflows will become so much more efficient. I think there'll be workflows that are more creative than we're seeing right now in terms of who's doing what, client versus firm versus team members of the firm versus technology. I think that that's going to shift and become just even more powerful than it already is. But that the relationship side, technology didn't get businesses through COVID. Let's put it that way. And so that really was the example of relationships holding their weight and having a lot of value. And I think that that's truly the future of accounting at this point, from my seat and from my perspective. And I think that creates job security in this industry that is unlike it's ever been inside of the accounting industry.
You're describing this relationship in such a great way, because I'm a firm believer that the business owners have within the accountant a confidant that they don't have anywhere else in the organization. There's so many things that the business owner can't share with their spouse. They can't share with their employees. They can't share with their management team. You become, in some ways, that one release that they need to kind of bounce ideas off of, consider options, and where we're able to remove the emotion and do pro formas and actually kind of do a business model of, well, if we have this product with these KPIs, what would we look at? We're able to do things for them that their gut is helping them identify, but we're able to confirm it, help them have confidence in what it is they're looking at. So I loved how you described it. One of the things that I'll typically mention is that our role as accounting professionals is to help the business owner move from seeing us as a liability, this necessary thing, expense that they're having to pay in order to be in business, to all of a sudden becoming an asset that they couldn't be in business without us. We're all of a sudden the one that's giving them that information they need to move and adapt and change as they need to keep the business not only growing, but thriving. And so when you can see your relationship with your clients changing from they're just paying you because they're getting the reports to, hey, do you have that information? I need to see this, or that's so helpful. That question you asked really helped me think about it in a different way. All of a sudden, those pivotal moments make us essential in their business model, and they're not going to get rid of us. And that's on top of the friendship that we're hopefully building with them as well. So I love that. That was great. The next question I have for you is, I think, something that's kind of what you alluded to earlier about workflow. And it's essentially how workflow really does impact the success of an accounting business. We put all this energy into getting clients. We put all this effort into onboarding them, but it's the efficiency of the workflow that ensures we're being profitable month after month doing this work for the client. So what would you say is one of the biggest mistakes accountants make in not establishing an efficient workflow?
Well, I think it's maybe two parts. The first part is identifying exactly what workflow is going to be the right fit for each client. And as much as I would love to be able to say that from my experience, I can give you a workflow and say, every time that you've got a new client, this is the workflow that's going to fit, and this will create an engagement opportunity of quarterly frequency in your strategy meetings with the client or what have you. From my experience, that doesn't hold true. Every client has just got some uniqueness to them. Now, that can be uniqueness in the type of industry, because we don't all niche really successfully that every client looks exactly like the other. So sometimes there's some sort of level of diversity in the niches inside of your book of business. And then there is also just the difference in the client's needs in terms of Do they have a point of sale terminal? Do they have online sales? Are they using Stripe? There's all these different things that just create some uniquenesses in the workflow requirements. There's also their budget. So how much can they afford for you to do, no matter how efficient technology is? How much can they afford for you to do? And how much maybe are they going to take on themselves so that they can pay you to do some of the things they can't do? There's just all these different things. And so I think first and foremost is that we're not always as creative as we maybe could be or should be with the initial setup. We want to be able to put our clients in a box and say, yep, here, plug and play. This is just like the last one. I don't think it's quite that easy. Otherwise, you'll find that you'll have some inefficiencies in your workflow, which quickly eat into your margins. And then on the other side of that is workflows need to be audited or evaluated quite frequently. And that's because the technology is changing. And there could be efficiency gains by embracing a new technology that means that it might, change or shift your workflow, but that it results in efficiencies longer term. And so I think that it's the two-part answer to that is at first we might not take quite as much time up front as we should to think creatively about the workflow that's unique for this client. And then on the opposite side of that is that it really, even to go a whole year and not evaluate workflow might be too long in this fast-paced industry that we're in right now with technology changing so quickly. And so I'm a big fan of flat fee pricing and flat fee billing. And you really have to watch your margins inside of that. And that, perhaps up front, you might have really tight or minimal margins that you're earning, but that the goal is that it's riding down a really steep curve in terms of how much time you're having to spend on the client file in order to get that clean, accurate, timely data to be able to have those conversations and back them up with the financial figures. So there's kind of two sides to that. So as much as I'm a fan of flat fee pricing, I'm still a fan of watching your hours that you and your team are putting into a client file to be able to really monitor those margins on a client by client basis. And the reality is some you win and some you lose. You just want to win more than you lose in terms of your margins because of just changes in things that you didn't necessarily plan and predict when you set out your engagement that was flat fee pricing. But workflows play into that heavily. And it's not just all right, plug and play, there we go. You're going to have the same workflow as the last client we onboarded and away we go. You'll find that you'll get frustrated or perhaps not be making the margins you anticipated.
Very good. So I'm going to break away right now for our sponsors, and I've got two here today to share with everyone. With regards to the offers, I've got, first of all, your opportunity to get a free copy of the book In the Black. It is In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business More Profitable. And with regards to this, it really addresses for you the 9 things that you need to be doing to address the short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals within your organization. This is the particular book that you need in order to, as a business owner, work on your business and find the time to actually plan accordingly to make your business profitable. The principles here are also ones that you can take to your clients and help you, as we've been discussing today, asking the right questions that will allow you to actually become more of an advisor for your clients in the things that matter most as to affecting the bottom line and being profitable. The other is an invitation by Twyla with FreshBooks to join the Accounting Professionals Program. And with this, I'm going to give you a URL. It's actually going to be in the episode description of this episode that you can actually go get a copy of. And from there, link to freshbooks.com/accountants to see what you can do to become part of this organization and group. So, Twyla, what could you tell us real quickly about the Account Professionals Program?
I'm going to actually start with saying why I joined FreshBooks, because I think that really plays into what the Accounting Professionals Program is all about. I joined FreshBooks because I really wanted to support the accounting industry. I wanted to kind of expand my ability to contribute to the success of small businesses through other accounting professionals. So helping accounting professionals grow their firm and make their firm successful, and in turn help small businesses, their clients. And so the accounting professionals program is really a opportunity to be embraced by that sort of methodology. It's the evolution of the industry that's not just about technology. Now, there's obviously benefits inside the program that we provide to our accounting partners, but a big piece of it is the technology and the other content and the other support and the community of accounting professionals that is, gosh, that's so powerful for other accounting professionals to each contribute to one another's success and collaborate in ways that they didn't used to do a number of years ago. And so the accounting professionals program is a way to introduce or reintroduce accounting professionals to FreshBooks, consider FreshBooks as a platform for some of their small business clients, and then kind of working that into their firm, but also bringing about other content or bringing in other resources that we're providing inside of that community in the partner program.
Very good. I appreciate that. It's a good thing for all of us to check out. So I invite you to go ahead and do so. Real quickly, I've just got some final questions that I'd like to ask you. And one of them is, having been a CPA with your own firm and running your own business, what do you think was kind of your guiding mantra, or maybe a quote or something that you use to kind of guide you as you ran your business to ensure that you're offering quality services? Is there something that you learned from a mentor or something that you did that helped you stay focused on what you were trying to build as an organization at the time?
Yeah, I think that it comes down to that idea of somebody's why. And I if you've read the book by Simon Sinek, Start With Why, that one really rang true for me and was something that was a mantra that I held on to or was kind of embracing even before that book came out, which was, why did I start this in the first place? What am I trying to achieve? And I could tell you that being an entrepreneur and being a CPA and running a firm and helping small business owners, and especially when you get engaged at that level of advisory with small business owners, you almost take on some of that stress of their business as your own. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. And you have to appreciate that some days are just going to be not that great. And especially this year, gosh, so many people this year are just so exhausted due to COVID and all that they've been managing this year. And truly, you need to always come back to, why did I start this in the first place? What is it I'm trying to do? And so it's a why. What's my why? Why did I start to do this? And then that value piece is also super important. What am I coming back to every day? And that's where inside of our firm, it was creating a client experience that they can't live without, which really rang true with my why of, I want to help entrepreneurs. I want to help business owners to be successful, because a lot of them don't know what to do. They're operating from that gut, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. But I've got skills that they don't have, and I can contribute back to them in a way that is valuable and can help them be successful and help their business thrive. So coming back to that why is it's a life skill, but it's a business entrepreneurial skill as well, because those days when you think, what the heck am I doing? And why am I just swinging and missing everything I do today? It happens. It happens to all of us and can happen day over day over day. But if you know that you've got purpose and you've got intention and your clients really need you, that can fill your cup up pretty quick, even on those really tiring days when you come back to, I'm doing this for this reason.
Thank you so much for that perspective. I think your summary of that why is so helpful, because so many of us in business, as we're dealing with some of the challenges we face, need to tap back into that and reignite the passion we have for what we're doing. So I think that was well said. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to recap what it is we've discussed and then ask for Twyla to share any final thoughts. But real quickly, I've loved today's discussion. I think from our perspective of each of us trying to build the premier accounting firm, we do need to consider what we can do to become these progressive accountants, looking at how we can leverage technology to really engage better with our clients and find the time to really assist and advise them as they're needing. It's through those right questions, creating that safe environment that allows us to actually become much more an integral part of each of our clients' businesses and their success. I also feel that Twyla did an excellent job of explaining why, as we look towards the future, it's bright. It's something that we can look forward to, that as technology changes and evolves, it will further enable us to, as accounting professionals, still excel and be, at least remain, a very necessary part of our clients' success. So with that in mind, just be aware that the future for accounting professionals does still appear bright. As sponsors, we do want to still encourage you to go to the episode description to get the information you need to actually take advantage of her offer to join and become a part of the Accountrepreneurs, the Accounting Professionals program, as well as get a free copy of your book, In the Black, The 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. Now, with that being said, Twyla, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
I think the last thing that I'll share is really kind of came to my mind as I shared with you, going back to that why, is don't be afraid to adjust that why. Don't be afraid to change and be flexible. Gosh, if you go into LinkedIn and look at my career, you'd almost think maybe I was changing and flexible too many times, but it kept me in alignment with what really mattered. And that can change and evolve. We're humans. We grow. We want to be able to be exploratory and be flexible and be ourselves. And that's how you're going to add the most value, is when you are in alignment with what matters to you. And that doesn't stay stagnant for the entire course of your career. And so that's the only other thing that I just wanted to add is sometimes as accountants, we aren't as creative as maybe some other professionals are. But I encourage you to lean into it a little bit and be exploratory with what you want to do and where you can see yourself growing and providing value to your clients. And that could change over time. And that's okay, because the accounting industry is changing around you, which means that it's great for you to change along with it.
I love it. Not only is it fun, there's optimism for the future, and obviously we can make a difference in our clients' lives. So this has been an amazing discussion. Twyla, thank you for being on the show. This is something that we always want to do, is help everyone feel inspired and optimistic about what they can be doing as accounting professionals to help their clients. And at the same time, just always keep in the back of our minds that accounting success is universal. So on that note, let me just encourage you, if you'd like more information about universal accounting and how we can help you build the premier accounting firm, feel free to check us out at universalaccountingschool.com, or also give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. And with that, just remember this: if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care and have a great day.